your camera bag? What is your camera bag?
Oh, I just found it it has that green one over there, and then it came with all these inserts for glasses and lenses and stuff.
Oh, nice.
But I mean, I try to keep it turned off as possible, so I just bring the one. But it's waterproof, and I feel like it doesn't look like it's I learned it. For everything.
Yeah. Nice.
It doesn't have great I was on the hospital one for a really long time.
Yeah.
But mostly I work on doing it.
No, I feel like that's a big problem.
Well, because I just don't want to look on other areas on here. I also don't want to carry it and actually shoot it. But when some people go to hardcore for self and conceal and something like that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right, hello. Oh my gosh, this is great. So I was telling our group of friends that we have up here in the Spotlight community that I have a little bit of a hoarse voice. So for some of you guys who don't know me, I'm Marquita Anderson. If you've been following what we've been doing at the Spotlight, we've been hosting a race and wellness conversation over the past couple weeks, particularly in June. And then we decided to carry it on over into our sweat working week that we host about, I want to say twice a year, which is a week of fitness on something like almost like a bar crawl for fitness. So yes, if you guys don't know me again, my voice is super raspy and I might have some squeaks. So just bear with me, all right? Cool. All right. So thank you guys so much again for coming out here, joining us. If you have friends that are going to come to the event and join us, take a seat and listen in as they pour in these little markers here, the little flags for them to pop in a little later or something like that. Just kind of give them a heads up. And we'll use this for our workout spots following our conversation today. Okay? Cool. Thumbs up. All right. So, yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to hop right into this jam. So we will have time to kind of get everything out that we want to today. So, sitting with me, I have some amazing people that represent the fitness community in Chicago. Myself, I'm a trainer in Chicago myself, but I do more pop-ups and things like that, collaborations. I've been a Nike pacer for the Nike Run Club in Chicago and a mixture of things in that space. And I also teach dance classes as my background. But full time, I am a producer at Channel 5. So if you guys see me either in that element of working out or the element of news, then I hold both of those hats in the city. So that is me. But we're going to learn a little bit more about our panelists, and we're going to dive into what we're going to talk about today. So right now, starting out to my left here, I have Miss Courtney Phillips. You can kind of just tell us a little bit about yourself and what you currently do for a living.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure already kind of speaking to the other panelists. They're all trailblazers, so I appreciate being part of the conversation. I'm Courtney Phillips, like Marquita said, and I am the co-founder of Gumbo Media, based here in Chicago. And Gumbo Media at large is like our umbrella company where we expand the narrative of Black life through content, experiences, and opportunity. And a good example of that is our the issue 1 of our magazine, which is Gumbo Magazine, titled Black, which centers over 160 different creatives globally who just really kind of expressed, what Blackness is to them, and understanding that it's nuanced, and as much as there are things in common, there are a lot of different things that kind of make us ourselves and make us individual in the larger sense. And so within that, we have had plenty of partnerships across the city and different programming. Since the pandemic, we've started an online e-learning platform called Melon Network, which centers Black entrepreneurs, creatives alike who have just shared their craft and been able to create some side income on that and learn new things. And then alongside that, we also have Gumbo Fit, which is why I'm here, which is our fitness initiative. And that's been going for the past year and a half. We started in May 2019, and we're sponsored by Nike Running. So our primary pillar is running. And we trained for the marathon last year. I ran my first marathon, the Chicago Marathon, which was amazing. Thank you. So it's been a journey. I personally have not been a runner, but I like really started to call myself a runner when I started this run club, and it's been really an amazing journey.
Yes. So we'll pass the mic down too, so we can get to know everybody first. As you guys can see, we're trying to be as safe as possible.
Is this on? Yeah, okay, cool. Thank you. This is the honor. As Courtney said, we've already been talking amongst ourselves about what it is to be in the community of fitness and wellness in Chicago. I'm Carla Huffman, Chicago native. I actually am a co-founder of a film company. I'm an indie filmmaker and producer called New Culture Creatives. And I'm also a yoga teacher and facilitator. I lead teacher trainings across the country. The opportunity to become the first Black women ambassador for Lululemon last year. And in the last 9 months, I've just been programming my ass off. Yeah, like every month doing a different program across the city, either a dinner, a workout, a yoga class, and just trying to find ways for us all in some kind of way to embody what it looks like to be sweaty, also to show that we do more than just what is always being said on media. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Cool. Hello, everybody. How are we feeling, everybody? See, I'm an instructor. I need like calm response. I need to be my ego somehow. I'm Colin Hudson. I'm the founder of Soapbox Productions and Organizing. It's a film and social activism entity. We work with grassroots organizations. We make films, a lot of documentaries, and we have a multimedia framework where we have a podcast as well as an editorial board, as well as make films that are all kind of in the same voice, kind of to send up systems of oppression, whatever capacity. I've been doing that for technically 7 years now. We ramped up around 2017 or so. I'm also a fitness instructor at Crosstown Fitness in Studio 3. And I kind of blend those two worlds together with a ongoing series we call Fitness Against Fascism. There's also a something to kind of support Soapbox as well. And with that, we pair like a high-intensity interval training workout with a trauma-informed yoga flow and have a community conversation, normally kind of more themed about patriarchy, racism, all name an ism. We talk about it, kind of how that corresponds to the fitness space and the wellness space, and how we can't think about fitness and wellness as apolitical when those things aside when we come into that space. They're always with us, they're living with us in our bodies, and certain bodies are going to be more privileged than others. We challenge that and uproot that in our everyday being and by kind of just existing. So the past year or so, I've really kind of put my two worlds together, really unapologetically, which has gotten me in trouble at certain times. But for whatever reason, the past couple months, that hasn't been as much the case. And we can again tell why that may be. So I'm also honored to be here with you all. I've known you guys for a little bit now. And it's awesome just being in the spaces that I'm in and seeing the overlap become more the past couple of years. The other folks are doing the same thing, be able to kind of bounce ideas off, really kind of vibe and collaborate in different capacities with everybody. So hopefully we can keep that going here and beyond the physical space.
All right. Well, let's clap it up for our panelists real quick. Show them a little love. All right. So, you guys shared a lot of the things that you guys have going on, and a lot of our worlds kind of intertwined. If we're a fitness professional, you are a professional in this space, in that space, and these worlds are kind of melting together to a certain extent. But what I want to talk about is specifically what moment or event or thing happened for you to get into the space, particularly for you, we'll go down the line, but particularly that created this fire for you to now be, I called you a fitness activist. That might not be the right term. I'm putting two things together. But can you tell us about that? Like, was there a moment? Was there a particular thing? I mean, what's going on in the world right now, but you've been in this world for some time, speaking up and speaking out. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, for sure. I've never actually got that question about that before. I like fitness activists. That's kind of cool. So I hear that. I think about, I'll do like an analogy in my story version. I'm sure this makes sense, but 1968 Mexico City Olympics. Everyone knows the symbol with John Carlos on the pedestal with their fist up. So that was huge, obviously, globally, particularly within the Black activist community at the time. A lot of folks didn't want them to even go to the Olympics or even to go on a run because they were like, why would you go and represent this country that's literally killing us in every way they can see fit? And I'm not sure which one it was who said this, but they were pretty much like, look, I run because I like to run, and I'm going to be Black and run and win and be Black again all at the same time. And I shouldn't have to choose between that, my two worlds. That always kind of stuck with me. And not that I have any kind of platform like that profound, but it's like, I think at one point years ago, I was struggling personally with my career and with what Soapbox was going to be. And when I kind of made the decision to dig my heels in and to say things and put media out in the world that wasn't, didn't serve the systems that they be, and find a way to try to get paid for and live, I made that choice, right? And so with that, I had to do that across the board. That included with how I present myself in fitness spaces. They may not be like obvious or intentionally political, quote unquote, spaces. It was important for me just to be myself in that space. And if that was a problem, it wouldn't be a place that I would want to work at. That's kind of how Fitness Dispatch came to be as well. And so it's very interesting seeing the moment we're in now and seeing businesses across industries and across borders, whatever, make statements for Black Lives Matter, make statements about how they're going to do things differently, and knowing the practice of those same businesses and knowing what they've said in the past to me directly or just people in general, and knowing how those change, and then knowing how, as much as the moment we're in is different, how what's happening as far as atrocities aren't any different. You kind of want to unpack what the reason is behind that.
I like that. And we're going to keep on moving forward. Carla, you want to take the mic? And same question. For you, you pointed out that you are, if I'm getting this right, the first Black Lulu female in Chicago. Okay. So in Chicago, you're the first Black woman to represent the Lululemon brand, as ambassador. Okay, so if you can kind of just speak about not even necessarily that, but if that's the space that you're in, what for you that moment, that fire that really kind of lit things for you to kind of move forward, even with how you represent yourself.
Well, I'm always on fire. Like I'm always like, tear this shit down and start all over again. So I've been a yoga teacher for now 7 years. I've been leading teacher trainings for about 4 years. I've been in the yoga world just as a practitioner for 10 years. And just noticing, I mean, it's so cliche and it honestly gets on my nerves now to even say like, I was the only Black girl in the room. Like, cause now I don't ever put myself in that room. Like for now, I'm just like, hey, are you coming to class with me? Cause like, we gotta go do this. So I think in the last 6 years, I'll just say what's made me initiate the narrative of stop being the only is to always include in whatever way I can and making sure that everybody understands this is for us. And nowadays it's by us, you know, like people are creating their own platforms in different ways. And it's like, oh, he has this thing going on. Like he gave me flyers and everything there on my page, you know, like, hey, she has this happening. We should go to this, you know? So I guess the fire for me now is when I became an ambassador, I was honored. And then I also was annoyed because I understood like how I move is a lot different than a lot of people just sweat. And not just say just, it's just their only focus is on that workout and like getting the people in the classroom. And for me, it's like, yes, let's do some yoga, yes, let's breathe, but also like, what am I saying to you who's in this room with me? So I think when I became an ambassador, I was telling Courtney earlier, I signed that contract and I did not stop. Like every week I was like, I want to do this, I want to do this. And Lululemon is really good about, I don't know what they were doing in the past, but in the last couple of years, Lululemon is really good about if their ambassador has an idea and brings it to them, they'll try their way to finish it through. And I just made sure the fire for me was like, okay, I have this on my name. I want to make sure in the next year that I'm not the only. So we did bring on 2 women of color this year. So I'm really happy about that. So I'm not by myself anymore. And also in that same vein, every program I did to make sure that everybody was seen, everybody was a star. Everybody was like exemplified in a way where they also were showing their work and explaining their work. So like the lit's always in me. Like tomorrow I'm gonna have some new other program I want to do. But trying to take breaks in between that time. And like as a filmmaker though, I know exactly what happened. My first web series that I created was called Yogma, and it was about navigating a Black woman in the yoga world in a dominant white space. And the reason why I created that, because I'm not an actor, like I'm legitimately like, don't watch yoga. I was forced to be the main character, but I am a producer. But I remember the day I was in the studio, and I remember the day before, it was in Hyde Park. A Black woman came in and just needed to take class. You could see like she just needed a break from her child. And she dropped off her baby in the lobby area and was like, hey, can you just watch this child for like an hour? And I was like, yeah, girl, get in there and take that class. And I remember the manager coming out and saying, she can't be here. And I had to pull the girl out of the class. The next day, the manager brought her baby. And her baby cried for like 4 hours straight in the studio. And I was just like, what is this? Like, why is this even a different scenario? Like, I don't care that you're the manager. Like, your child's crying and I can hear it in the studio. And I just remember just that conversation, like, what's this difference? Why is anybody better than the other? You can see that we need to heal equally as you need to heal. So that definitely was the spark with me getting the film world and staying and bringing those 2 worlds together.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. I think that a lot of us, especially up here right now, we carry that with us, like a lot of who we are into the spaces and places that we are. So I think, well, it's just kind of like how I've been doing things. So again, thank you guys for being here and just even sharing who you are, what you do, this community in particular.
I'm sorry, what's the question?
I'm sorry. Same question, my dear. If you have done both fits. Hut at the same time, or you have Gumbo Media, but then now you've created this for Gumbo Fit. So that seems like it's something particular, either some type of moment or some dire passion for you to create for a specific purpose. So just us about that.
Yeah, I would say with Gumbo Media, we saw a lot of progress within the creative realm, and I had been on my own personal fitness journey for ever since I could remember, but just dealing with it's like accepting my body and wanting to feel strong and confident as a Black woman. And I didn't really see or feel like I had access to spaces for fitness and didn't always want to just go to a class. And I got introduced to Nike, and I just pitched them with the idea of, what if I did a run club? and I made it with the help of my fiance and co-founder that's sitting right in front of me. We made a really nice deck, and we just made it really super convincing. And I came at it with the perspective of like I have played sports, but I've never considered myself a runner. I'm on my own personal fitness journey, and I want to try running. And so we just started meeting, and it started so quickly, and it grew so quickly that I don't even remember. I didn't even really know how people found out about us. I mean, I guess we already had the platform with Gumbo Media, but like a lot of those people don't work out with us. Like we have our like media people, like followers, and then there's like the fitness followers, and a lot of them are, don't really mingle. And so just with that energy, I guess, and just optimism and a little bit of naivete, I guess, these amazing individuals just kind of like popped into my orbit and were like, I want to help you lead this. And so before I knew it, I had like 4 captains. And we're just running it. And it's been now, we meet on Saturdays, we run at 8 a.m. And then on Tuesdays, we do track Tuesdays. And I really try to just do what I know how to do, which is community, like gathering community and like community organizing in the sense of just like creating space so that people can see themselves reflected the way they want to see themselves reflected. And then for my captains, it's been just amazing to see them kind of get into a space where they've been Nike Run Club pacers in the past and have run with other run clubs around the city, but have explicitly told me many times that they never really felt like the conversations were meaningful, or that people didn't really care about their health and wellness on a real level. And so, running with us with Gumbo Fit, it's been more like, oh, I can go here and the conversations are just different. I can run here with Gumbo Fit, and I know that people actually, when they ask me how I'm doing, they actually care. And so that's kind of what has ignited the passion for me to do Gumbo Fit, and to become a runner myself, and to also just, I think part of that is just own the fact that I came into this not really knowing a lot about running, and that's okay, because I think we need to see more representation for people that are, our age, who want to try something new and don't need to be intimidated out of something. Because I think if I had always been like a track runner, the energy would be different. And so I just kind of live in that and own it.
That's what we're gonna do. Check the mic. There we go. Alrighty, so we've been having these conversations, like I mentioned, for the past couple of weeks now. I'm sure some of you guys have tapped into a lot of the spaces and places and a lot of industries that have specifically addressed diversity and race and things like that, and how we're trying to approach it moving forward. And so, with our panelists today, one of the things in particular that I really wanted to focus on was, in particular, people who represent the fitness community, but there's so many other things that they're doing. And in particular, in Chicago, it's a huge part of my world. And like Courtney mentioned, I was a part of the Nike Run Club, and I shared some of those same thoughts that some of your captains and different people who have worked with you, who work with you currently. And so, the way that I'm looking at things now is, hey, how are we, especially as leaders or people that are kind of like stepping forward or have already have brands or platforms, what are we doing? What are we saying? How are we moving forward? Have we already been doing X, Y, and Z? And then if people are asking, how can I be a part of what you do, the role that you have going on? What can I do to help? What more can I do? Is the next part of the conversation. So I just want to start with, whoever wants to go next, I'll start with you, and I'll pass it down to you. You can work our way this way. I just want to know in particular, for you, your brand, and how you are moving forward. Can you talk to us about that?
That's a lot. How much time do we have? No. It's been weird just being outside of a traditional business, i.e. corporate, i.e. white mainstream, however you want to read that space, and doing what I do just on the daily. So enter coronavirus, enter with that, exposing the, in my view, the ills of capitalism, the ills of how it's intersected with racism and patriarchy and white supremacy and on and on and on and on. Things to me were obvious before, and I had preached about before and tried to do within my work. And then seeing folks be more empathetic because everyone's suffering, right, through this time. And with that, we're seeing articles by Blanco Chai and looking at Chicago particularly, surprised Latinx and Black communities are getting COVID more than others. And I see that, I'm just like, yeah, that checks out. Like, that's how racial capitalism works, and that's how everything kind of works. And I'm not like happy to see that, but I don't bat an eye it because I'm not surprised that's how these systems have always failed us. And because it's so salient, it makes people be more aware of it and maybe want to do something about it, which feels good. And then into Ahmaud Arbery, I have a lot of thoughts on that. But in the fitness community, like 2 months ago, that happens, and folks are posting about it, folks are outraged, which as everyone should be. But I'm seeing, I think, what was it, run 2.25 miles, that's like the thing to do and post about it, which is fine. But if that's where it stops, you might as well not do it, because how does that not only represent Black voices being marginalized, but has to represent a push towards liberation. So I had a lot of conflicting feelings when I saw that being all over my Instagram feed. And there's this weird thing about thinking that, like, I need to say something about that particularly, or I need to run, or I need to make some kind of workout with 2 and 2.5 in it somehow, just to like be part of the trend. And then also part of me is trying to push back against the need to do that because I'm in the space and Black. Is talk about this shit all the time. And so I post something about it, kind of like saying that this incident is bad, but this is what's supposed to happen in the white supremacist society. And things that harm people all the time, this included, but are the bail system that just exists, are policing Black folks' language, are looking at me in a certain way because I present myself in a certain way that you don't like. Like, that's all white supremacy, and that all has to harm and oppression and death. So that's what I'm more concerned about. Of course, I'm concerned about racists doing things. I'm also concerned about the police force getting $2.2 billion over a year in Chicago. Like, my pleasure in media, making something visual and sexy you're going to see on your phone for 2 minutes. How do I use this incident, i.e. Ahmaud Arbery, or this video that's 2 minutes long, has some text all over it, and make you not think about that incident or that little thing, but the broader structure that makes that not only possible, but wants that to happen or moves in a way to let that happen and institutionalizes that in ways that are invisible. So then I'll swear I'll get the fast mic because I don't be the guy on here talking a bunch. And then George Floyd happens, right? And then we see, kind of we mentioned about businesses, everyone coming out. And so it's made me as a person move differently and Soapbox move differently into still presenting and talking about what we always talk about, but leaning into the moment and almost being more unapologetic because we can be a little bit less palatable than we have before. And that was ever anything part of our mantra, but folks already know the stats of how much the police get a year, which is something that was like shocking 2 months ago to recite to people. So you know that, cool, let's take that. Let's talk about Don Burge. Let's take that. Let's look about the last mayoral race. Let's take that. Let's look at all the other things. So you can get a little deeper, faster about issues and still make it sexy and fun, hopefully funny at the same time. Someone also has a podcast as well that Matt and Courtney were on. Super dope. You guys check it out, Bourbon in Browntown. Quick plug. But that's a cool space because with our podcast, is me and my colleague David, who's Mexican, first generation from Chicago, talking about issues, and we're just chumming it up, talking as friends. We're literally drinking bourbon, probably saying things we shouldn't, but we try to be chummy and entertaining, but also talk about these deep issues and being vulnerable at the same time. Because that changed the folks we've had on the podcast as guests, post George Floyd, who mainly are activists in different rights, and kind of asking about their experiences as well. So I think talking to folks and putting those conversations out there, being able to dig into these things without having to talk about, in our view, Googleable things, or really get the meat of it really easy and easier now, has been nice and refreshing. But also in a moment where we're getting literally killed and literally tear gassed at the same time. So how do you balance the two and still do the work? But then half your conversations are on an encrypted app now because you think the police are going to be looking for you, like quite literally. So it's a weird balance in things that are good that are happening because things are also so bad, but because that you feel so powerful at the same time. So in short, doing what we've always been doing, but leaning into the mass consciousness changing and how we can get people at the door and bring them in without shunning them, but also not change how we move because that's unfair to us. That's making us perform more, which isn't equitable, which is ultimately, all of this, right?
What I hear from you is the performative work that everybody tries to do, and then you don't do the actual work. I believe all of us sitting up here has already been in the work. We have become desensitized by what has happened and what is happening. And I think for me, instead of doing call out culture, I did call in culture is what I've been doing in the last couple of months. Even before the pandemic and everything else was happening, I was reeling off of Everyone Should Read Eloquent Rage by Brittany Cooper, because I'm reeling off of the fact of all the Black women also being killed, and as when Black men are, predominantly being more killed than we are, it's still like we're in the front line, right? We're always in the front line. Black women are always the nurturer. Black women are always the ones that are trying to figure out the answers and doing tricks and stunts to make it all happen. So prior to even this pandemic, I was like, am I doing more performative work as a yoga teacher than not really actually doing the mindful work all the time? And what I've learned from myself in the last couple of months is, and I actually did a call in with a lot of yoga teachers, especially in the yoga community, which is different from the yoga industry. Yoga industry is consumers who go for an hour and bounce out. Yoga community are the people who stay on the mat, drip it out, come out of that sucker. You don't always have to be crying, but the change starts within and you come outside like, yo, I just learned some shit, right? I called in yoga teachers to realize we are social justice leaders. We ooze this all day. We're like, breathe in, figure out your life, and now take it off the mat and change the world. You have to go a little bit deeper than that. And I mean, the yoga community is more predominantly white. And I do have the opportunity and the chance and the privilege to teach in big spaces and have the money to teach in big spaces. So, I mean, the last couple of months, what I've been doing is like just calling in, like, do you know what you're doing? Are you meeting the person right and left to you? Because I also have the opportunity, since I am a Black woman, I have a lot of Black women who take my class, and they're in classes with a lot of white women and white men. And I'm like, mingle, meet each other, like have these hard conversations. So I think in the last couple of months for me, the work is calling in myself, educating myself, learning certain words, unpacking my own privilege that I have created around myself. You know, little old Carla 6 years ago was just trying to get somebody to get on the mat. And now I've gotten to the point where I don't have to do certain things if I don't want to. But now I'm like, I need to be doing all the things because I am a leader. Like, I'm a leader, right? Like, we're leaders. And what I've done specifically within the yoga community, like, yeah, I did a really cute, fun, and sexy web series called Yogma. But then in this last month, I had an opportunity to bring my friend from New York. She drove, but she's from New York. She's Asian, and she drove here, and we did a visual podcast, and we talked to different yoga instructors in the city, taught a class, and we were talking about the industry, the community, how everybody is like fish out of water and like panic and doing like silly shit on their pages, like the big companies, including Lululemon, where I'm on the phone call, like, I need to talk to Blase Blase because why did you do this? This doesn't make sense. Like, stop this. So calling in, I've just been in this call in culture for myself and also for my contemporaries. Still doing more and more work, still trying to make it a little fun and sexy, but also, you know, stopping people and like having like that real conversation. How do you feel about time? Like, you're doing it. And also talking to my other ambassadors. Like, we have the biggest bench in North America, and they love to talk about it. But I'm like, this bench doesn't represent Chicago. Like, what are you talking about? So, having conversations with all the ambassadors, like, you guys just stay in huddles and like go to certain places. How about we go outside of this tunnel? Like, how about we get out of our bubbles and these other things? So just action, call in, and being really aware with how I articulate myself on Instagram, and also how I articulate myself physically.
From the perspective of a running leader in the community, I would say the articulation is very important, especially after Ahmaud Arbery. It was as if everybody just, all their eyes just turned to us. And it was like, all right, okay, you know? And it was just like so much performative reaction within the running community because it's so broadly white in Chicago specifically. And so we had, I mean, I got to the place where I'm like, okay, one, I had to look at my privilege. Like I always, I think that's been something where I don't think I bring it up in conversation as much as I used to, but it's like I'm a light-skinned Black woman. And so there's privileges with that. My hair, right, is more favorable. It's like if you have features that, you know, can get you into doors and give you opportunity, how can I use that to then benefit the Black community at large, specifically in the running community in this case? And so it's just, it was interesting, one, to see people's reaction and a kind of almost expectation for Gumbo Fit, and then me as a leader just being like, I'm not here to prove anything to you. We are Black runners. We live this every day. So I don't need to tell you anything. And I'm not going to post for you, and I'm not going to post a black box because we are Black. What do I have to prove to you? And so there was a lot of that. And so it was a lot of like, okay, what do we actually want to post, and what is quality content for us, and what does our community want to see? Because I'm not posting it to just post it and look cute and be a part of a trend. Okay, it's about serving the community that shows up and has showed up for the past year of our programming. And so that's always been top of my mind. And I would also say that it was very interesting to see the running community try to engage with Gumbo Fit specifically and try to have us, go on their social media or like, do a questionnaire. Oh, all of a sudden you want to feature us and we're friends and we just want you to, and we had to respond. I mean, a lot of the responses were, I don't have anything to say. I can't even find the words for myself. I'm in a state of depression. I need to deal with my own emotions. And on top of that, I need to respect and actually create space, give space to the emotions and the well-being of the people who actually matter right now. And I think that has been just overlooked in a lot of ways throughout the fitness industry, because I've been asked of, like, I was in a conversation not too long ago where the head of this running community in Chicago asked me, well, we just want to get this fixed. We just want to be able to have our Black runners run safely. And they had one of their funders on the call, and this funders was like, well, yeah, just send me the bill. Whatever you guys got to do, just do it quickly. Word for word. And so it's like, this is why you don't have Black runners, because you don't care about them. You're trying to do a fix. And it's just like, I can't fix systematic racism by myself. And I'm not going to sit here and just give you an answer and make you feel like you can do it yourself. And so I think it's been a lot of like leaning into unapologetic Blackness, I guess, and what that means as a leader, and really coming into that leadership role. I didn't grow up in a household personally that was very like activism forward. I was raised by my Black father, who was always the type, he was just like, go to school, get good grades, and don't stick out. This is the way the world is. You could die, straight up. And so I like just really got introduced into activism when I moved to Chicago. So groups like Let Us Breathe Collective, like they really, and Colin too, it's like, y'all really like introduced me to a lot of things that I was like, oh wow, like, y'all really make it. Okay. Oh my God, so like so I've had to do a lot of unlearning myself, relearning, you know what I mean? So it's like, it's like all of the different layers of like, where do I stand? Where is my privilege? How can I take action? Okay, I'm a leader. What does that mean? And how can I be most effective? How am I supporting people? How am I making sure that I'm supporting myself? Am I giving myself time to rest and reflect and all these things? So I would say that there's a lot that goes into being a leader in the fitness community and being Black. And I think that there's a lot of ridiculous requests and expectations for us. And it's also really shown me who in the community really supports us. And yeah.
Yeah, I echo a lot of the things that you guys said. In many ways, like you said, it's a lot of learning and unlearning. And I absolutely believe that we need to introduce the people, organizations, spaces and places that are doing the work, then you kind of find out more, you learn more, right? And so you mentioned the organization. What I want to hear is, what organization or mission matter to you guys following or tap into? Because I think that could be a possible start, is even when, say, Blacks host Black club parties and they have these meetings, and there are things that you can actually sit in meetings and have conversations with people about what happens and what matters in your community. And so, we brought up voting, in conversations over the past month and how that matters in like the world that we live in now, all these different things. And I think the big part is knowing about organizations, brands, people that are doing the work on the front lines when it comes to this community. So if you guys, we're getting down to the time now, but if you guys can just shoot out
maybe one or two organizations that you guys work with that you believe in that matter to you. And then we're gonna wrap it up with one more question. Yeah? Okay.
All right. I would like to say Yoga for Recovery. I don't do a lot of work with them or we or Soapbox directly as much, but one of our Fitness Against Fascism collaborators, Mel Phillips, does a lot of work with them. They particularly do programming with women in prison, yoga programming. So on the mantra of like doing yoga, everybody's getting the wellness and self-care in places that need it the most. And prison being what it is one of those places. So yoga for recovery. I and Soapbox have been doing a lot of work with young people the past couple of years now, 2 years, so years. So Chicago Freedom School, they work with, I think as young as like 11 or 12 to like high school, early 20s age, young folks on organizing and how to understand power, how it operates in the world, and the tools of being like a grassroots organizer, what that means, and how to move in this world. Getting really like tangible tools. They're super great. So Chicago Freedom School, Yoga for Recovery, Let Us Breathe. I could go on, but Chicago is Chicago ain't for none. Chicago has a ton of organizations doing a lot of good work, and one that kind of is bigger conversation about all that is that like organizations are awesome to do stuff. I think when it comes to donating, and because your money and your time is important, but if you have money and no time, you can donate to organizations. That is all fun and great. I think we saw this in June particularly. There was like waves of who to donate to support Black folks, to support equity, to support trans and queer folks. Sometimes people just do good stuff. I think mutual aid is something that everyone knows what that is, and how to give people what they need under coronavirus, especially. So sometimes people just like do stuff like, hey, Venmo me because I'm going to do this cool thing, and you should just do it. Sometimes you don't always need a institution to carry out the work because institutions are also the things that are working to kill us at the same time. So don't be afraid to just give people money or time and just trust they're going to do the right thing because that's more what we need in the world in general.
There's two. There's one, Girls in the Hood. Girls spelled with a Y, not an I. And Hood is an acronym. Period. H period, O period, O period, E period. It's based in Inglewood, and the lady who works with them, her name is Christy. She mentors, financially teaches them how to like get into college and like how to balance their checkbooks. Like my grandmother was pretty savvy in the business world, but I didn't know any of that. So I was definitely like, let me go into a workshop with them. But Girls in the Hood definitely gets overlooked because she doesn't promote or anything. She just kind of just reaches out where she thinks she should be, which is understandable, but also unfortunate always. And I'm always pushing her in a way of like, I get why you're trying to do that, but the more, what's the word? Exposure that these teenage girls see, the different it will be. So Girls in the Hood is one that I definitely, the last program I did was 4K to them. And she was like, okay, get it, exposure. So Girls in the Hood, definitely. And also, everyone should just check out OTV, Open TV. OTV is a free Chicago web series platform. It's been around for 6 years. I produced like 8 shows for them last year. It's not binary. It's everything in the background, the second story in Chicago. The first story is different creatives who have different platforms themselves, and you can watch all of the chill situation. There's documentaries, there's cooking shows, there's everything. And I just think that that's definitely an inside look at what's going on in Chicago. I will say that. So OTV, it's not even donating money, it's more or less donating the time. Instead of watching Netflix and just watching all the trailers, because I do that, you could just go to OTV and watch like 15 minutes of content, or 20 minutes of content, or 2 hours of content. So yeah, Girls in the Hood and OTV.
So I'll just say a couple. I won't go into descriptions, but Let Us Breathe Collective great, really wonderful. Good Kids, Mad City, another one, and then I would say like the Bronzeville Incubator, and obviously Black Lives Matter, Chicago. You know what I mean? Just always gonna shout that out. But yeah, check those out. Thank you so much.
All right. So we are wrapping things up. I see people are making their way for this workout that's coming up next. So this is awesome. Last thing that we want to get out. We're fitness professionals, we're run club runners, we're all these things. And music is one of those things that kind of like brings us all together and makes things happen, give us like that energy to, or even helps lead our class. So what is your top 3 really fast songs that's on your playlist when you're running, you're putting a playlist together for a class, any of those good things? 3, 4, and then we're moving on, all right?
All right, so I really love Afro beats right now. So I would say, oh my god, what? Right, I'm like, hold on one second. Lion Babe's on here. Blue Orange is on here. There's one that I really like that actually, just give me 1 second. Rema, really great.
I definitely have a eclectic taste, so bear with me. Annie DeFranco, Joyful Girl, Healing, Sample the Great. And then like my favorites to run with, because I just need some, I like A$AP Ferg is my baby daddy, for real. So his new song, Square Bitch, is like it's like in my running always. So those are my top, that's my top 3. That's where I'm at.
I just like putting the team on. So my guy Heavy Crowns is an educator and a rapper, and he's fucking dope. So his song Absolutely, and he has a newer song called New Bananas. I play in class pretty often because there's like great fun songs that are like have high energy. My playlist, my class list are not the same. Some overlap. I play with like a lot of hood shit. So like anything by Montana 300 is on my playlist. Like the majority of my playlist. Yeah.
All right, you guys. So let's pop it up for our panelists. Thank you guys so much for just sharing your thoughts, your time, and all that good stuff. I hope you get to stay for our workout and join the crew that's out here. So what we're gonna do is we are moving on to the next portion of our evening. What we're gonna do is you guys are great. You're right at the markers that you need to be at. What we're gonna do is we're gonna have you focus your attention this way, because this is where we are going to be able to look at our trainers as they guide us through our workout today. So, get your yoga mat out, all that good stuff, get ready. We'll probably be about 5 minutes-ish before we get